the BJP has already played many cards. 2014 was a vote for change. It was an anti-Congress vote and a vote for change. 2019 was the national security election. 2024, the BJP hoped would be a governance plus Hindutva election. The Hindutva part of it didn't work. It didn't work. It certainly didn't work in the Hindi-speaking states. For Modi to counter this sort of multiplication of Gandhi forces, he also needs a fresh narrative. What might that be?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
As you can see, this is Delhi without power and no water. So that's the democracy that we are in, because I believe some parts of Delhi have voted the Aam Aadmi Party. And, the Aam Aadmi Party was definitely not an example of dynastic politics. Now, I'll answer your question, but before that, allow me to lower the scale of the question, research-wise, right? Now, who on earth believed that Hemant Soren would be put in jail? And how many of you put your hands up and say that you ever knew that Kalpana Soren was a budding political candidate? I'm very close to Jharkhand on the ground, know Hemantji very well, but Kalpana Soren was never a candidate. And whoever knew that she would be campaigning for the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and bring in all 5 tribal seats in Jharkhand? So now what pushed dynasty into politics? Who pushed the wife into politics? And who got Sita Soren? If that was not bad enough, then who got to Sita Soren? When did Sita Soren become eligible to be a member of parliament? Why did the BJP discover her at the nth hour and field her from what was an important seat for Shibu Soren, who's referred to still as the Dishum Guru in the region, right? Now, who sparked the fires of dynasty? Just take it down to scale. Sometimes when people just don't have any other resources of political voice, they fall back on political families they trust. So yes, there is a Gandhi narrative. There is a narrative of dynasty at the top, but there is a narrative of people at the bottom. And I can tell you, at least 200 of those seats that you have in our, respected parliament consist of the people who barely raise their hand and say, oh, I matter. And I can tell you that of the entire panel here, I must admit, and this is a healthy health warning, that I do belong to a political family where my father died 16, 17 years ago. We wrapped him in the tricolor, put him to rest. Nobody's ever heard of who he was. But this time around, my mother, who was a member of parliament in the 1990s, was asked by her constituents to come out at the age of 85 and to brave the heat in Bihar in 50 degrees Celsius. And people from my village would send me pictures of what was going on. So who called for dynasty? Not us. We never stayed, Tavleen ji. That Lutyens Delhi, we decided was not for us. We believed that we must stay away and never stayed in the shadow of our parents, never in the shadow of my father who took oath as a cabinet minister. None of these names are known. But why is it that the entire constituency comes and falls back on a family? Because when they believe that the government is not listening to the voices of the people, ultimately, either they want to have 2 choices. Either they want to have a leader who's from amongst them, as Rajaram Kushwaha was from Karakat. There was a very important leader of the NDA alliance there, Upender Kushwaha, the Kushwaha leadership that the BJP was banking on. Now, who's coming up? A farmer leader. And the entire discourse in that constituency, we tracked it with 2 eminent students from Ashoka University. They said, don't talk about Ram Janam Bhoomi, talk about farming issues. So here was the NDA leader talking about farming issues. Who wins? A leader of their own. Who wins against the very important Home Secretary standing from the constituency of Ara? A young man called Santosh Prasad, who many editors of the Navbharat Times remember from the prestigious Times of India group, that he used to stand outside the offices and say, this is our party pamphlet, uncle, please publish it. Now, he's the son of a sweetmeat shop owner. So either that becomes a way of putting your hand up and say, we count, we matter, listen to us, or they fall back upon families that have ever represented them and that they believe will see them forward and put their voice and represent it as they want to represent it.
I think there are lots of people who want to respond to you. So if just your last comment, then I'll open it up.
Lutyens Delhi is certainly away. I mean, those are very valid points. I don't want that to come anywhere. So there is a narrative of the people in all this. Take the scale down and you will realize. There can be another example.
Okay.
Now I remember my memories of the Central Hall ladies lobby. There used to be one in the 1990s, and there was dynasty in another state. And that was that women from princely states without any parliamentary caliber, and I will not name the political party, but I can tell you which political party had the maximum princesses sitting in that royal chamber behind the Central Hall, and you can take a guess and understand which was the political party that had given dynasty.
Okay, Tavleen, Manisha, Manisha Priyam says, put Lutyens' Delhi away, but political families survive because people often place their faith in them. And what are you going to do about that?
Yes, because we moved from colonialism, feudalism, straight into socialist feudalism. We haven't given the people a chance. Whenever people who have risen up, have been allowed to rise up in a constituency, have been voted in, they do much more work than these. And it's Lutyens' Delhi is a metaphor. Excuse me. Lutyens' Delhi is the same in every state capital. They have what do you think they're there for? They're buying land, they're opening colleges, etc., because that is what they're there for. They serve their family first. And it's the same as the royal family. The reason why so many princesses do well and princes do well is because, people see it as just a continuation of what we've always had. That is what has to change. That is what democracy is strengthened when you allow other people a chance. And before before Indira Gandhi did what she did, there were real political parties in India. I remember them. Anyone who's old enough to remember them. I just want to make one other point. Pushparaj just said, no member of the Gandhi family has been around for 30 years. Excuse me, Sonia Gandhi appointed 2 prime ministers. She appointed them. They were chosen by her. All right, now come on. We all know who de facto prime minister was in the time of Narasimha Rao was a bit defiant, but Manmohan Singh was, there were files going to Sonia. What are we talking about? Let's not pretend. And power without accountability was a system she started, and that's even more dangerous for democracy. So, I'm sure that Rahul Gandhi might follow the same principle. It isn't good for India because you must have accountability. Sonia Gandhi is not accountable.
Pushparaj briefly, then Sugata, then Ashwini ji. Manisha, Manisha has one sentence since it's Manisha, Dr. Manisha Priyam, one sentence, then Pushparaj, and then Sugata. Manisha?
In Jharkhand, Champai Soren is the chief minister. Kalpana Soren is only campaigning. And who pushed her into politics?
Okay. That point has been made. Pushparaj, pick up the point about, Sonia Gandhi, the kind of extra... The power without the accountability is what the Congress was criticized for in the UPA years. Quickly, and then Sugata and Ashwini ji.
No, I think this is some sort of some kind of chimera that has been brought up again and again. I think the Congress Parliamentary Party, I am fairly certain, voted Manmohan Singh in as Prime Minister, and she might have nominated him. There's no denying that, and it was her prerogative to do so. But the Congress Parliamentary Party, in the first time, 145 MPs.
Why was it her prerogative? Why was it her prerogative to do so?
Because the campaign was led under her. She led the campaign, so it was her prerogative to. And she was party president. It was her prerogative, like it will be Khargeji's prerogative to nominate whoever he deems would be the prime minister whenever that time comes. That's one thing. And the second thing is, the same thing came up in 2004 or 5, I can't remember, 5 or 6, sorry, when there was an Office of Profit controvery, when the NAC, the same arguments were made by the BJP then, that she's exercising power without accountability. She came back, she resigned, I'm fairly certain she resigned as MP, she got re-elected, and she was, the NAC became a formal body. Constitutional body, which she has maintained. And I know that she's written this in a book that I have authored with the Great Indian Manthan. She has said that it was purely an advisory body. There were many instances where she's taken pains. If someone would take the pains to read that book, she will go on to cite multiple instances where she is not, the Prime Minister has refused her advice and refused to do something. And she says that, ultimately he's the elected executive, we can't do anything. So that, let's not get into counterfactuals. One can get into counterfactuals all the time.
But Sugata, I just do briefly want to come back to Robert Vadra. I don't know if this will actually happen, if this is just a sidebar. If it happens, will it be accepted as well? We don't know. We simply don't know how this is going to play out. But let's also talk about what might change in politics. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra so far was treated by the BJP as a campaigner. She effectively came into operation in election season, not in between elections. Now she is going to be a full-fledged politician. Mr. Vadra may return to the headlines. Those cases that are in cold storage, you may see them being opened. I don't know. How's this going to play out?
Barkha, before I answer that question, one little comment on what Manisha ji was saying. See, Shibu Soren is in jail. Why is he in jail? The root of all that is, personal histories aside, I respect what Manisha ji said, but the problem arises with political families when they become a certain kind of mafia and capture the parties, capture resources. And why is it that certain political families are explained to us as the glue that holds everything together? It's because they control the resources. So let us not sort of, fool ourselves by, saying that, there are political families and there are good political families, there are bad political families. People want them. See, they've captured the system. And if you look at regional parties, you realize how far it has gone. It's run like absolute mafia system. So that is one part of the thing. The second thing is, this Priyanka Gandhi coming into parliament is a very interesting kind of development. I personally see it as a very interesting development. But the question that comes to my mind is, in the last 20 years, Rahul Gandhi has not developed a certain parliamentary style. He is not very methodical in his approach. He's by and large very erratic and, just throw something, and very emotional, well-meaning, of course. All that is fine. But then, if Priyanka comes into parliament and looks methodical, reasonable, logical, able to handle the paper in the papers or present an argument in a far more eloquent and forceful way, then how are the congressmen going to respond within the party? Within the party, what is going to happen? There is going to be comparison. There is going to be competition. So it's going to be very interesting to watch how Priyanka will emerge. And you already heard what Mr. Robert Vadra has been speaking. So we don't know this inheritance on one side, the methodological kind of advantage that she has, the eloquence that she carries, and the total absence of parliamentary method in Rahul Gandhi in the last 20 years. And the most important question, Barkha, is has he made up his mind on being leader of opposition? That's power and responsibility. So will he lead from the front? And I think Pushparaj said something, I think it was a slip of tongue, where he said, it is the prerogative of Kharge to nominate a prime minister. Why is it the Congress party not saying?
Sonia Gandhi.
Sonia, yeah. So why is it that Mr. Kharge has the prerogative of nominating somebody and not himself becoming? Has the Congress party ever said that Mr. Kharge is our prime ministerial candidate? He's far more experienced, seasoned. So these are the contradictions in a family-run party, which I don't think we should sort of, push aside, push behind the carpet.
Okay, I think that's a very important point that nobody would think, except when the India Alliance confabulations were on, and I think Mamta Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal did propose Mr. Kharge as a possible prime ministerial candidate, and that was not accepted.
And then it broke.